Okay, so as Chris mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about how to build your app for success. And one of the things that we find is most associated with a high level of success on Google Play is high quality. Users definitely appreciate high quality apps, and we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make sure that your apps meet this high quality bar. So one of the reasons that I'm most excited about being a product manager on Google Play is that today, if you have an idea or a business that you want to get out into the world, the best way to do that is through mobile apps, and also through Google Play because we have the largest global reach. So let's talk a little bit more about what quality means for mobile apps. We're going to walk through each stage of the software development cycle, from designing your app, to developing your app, to distributing your app, and we're going to talk about how you can bring out the high level of quality at each of these stages. So first off, we're going to start with design. And one thing to know about Google Play is that users have really been trained and evolved to appreciate high quality, beautiful design. Earlier this year, with the launch of Lollipop, we announced this new concept which Chris talked about, which we call material design. Now the idea here is it represents a new design paradigm that helps you understand how to build excellent experiences from device to device. So if you have a certain experience that you want to have work great across your website and your different mobile apps across different platforms, you can use material design to help give them a consistent look, feel, and experience. Also, if a user has an Android L device, this is essential to fitting in and making your app feel that it really belongs on this device. So first, before we get into the details, we're going to talk about the different reasons why material design is helpful and why you want to consider it for your app. So first of all, material design is all about bright and bold colors, which can be very useful in expressing your company's brand. Second, it's a great way to delight users. Users want to feel that the app really fits in with the other apps on their Android device, and material design helps you do that. It also helps you create strong cross-platform or strong device experiences where the user will have a similar experience whether they're on a phone, a tablet, TV, and so on. And finally, this represents an opportunity for your apps to get discovered. Many developers have already adopted material design, and we're featuring some of the best examples in our beautiful design collection. Eventually, if you want your app to get featured on Google Play, you'll need to make sure that it includes material design as well. So right now, it's a good chance to get started early. Here's an example of how the Gmail team has redesigned the Gmail app to adopt the principles of material design. Let's take a look at what they've done here. So on the left is the old version, and on the right is the new version. You can see that the new version looks much cleaner. They've given a lot more white space, so it doesn't feel as heavy or cluttered. They've added a bright color. You can see the red bar across the top. And also the red button on the lower right-hand corner means that the message composition button is very easy to find and jumps out. It just looks great too and feels a lot nicer to use. Second, this is an example of how the Google Play Music app has been redesigned. Again, here you'll notice the bright use of color, drawing from each of the different album art, emphasizing one of the most prominent colors there. It looks really clean and nice. And you also, when you interact with the app, you can see the use of motion really helps make the user understand the different transitions as they browse the different music collections on their tablet. And here we have the Play Store as well. We recently updated the Play Store earlier this year to take advantage of material design. So if you compare again the old version on the left with the new version on the right, you can see that we've added a beautiful banner graphic across the top, which really gives the users a great view and a beautiful imprint of your brand. Secondly, we've added a short text description across the bottom to help users get a quick summary of what your app does. And in the middle, we're using bright colors and bold icons to show the user several reasons why to install your app. So now we're going to talk about the 4 different design principles behind material design: tangible surfaces, meaningful and delightful motion, bold and beautiful aesthetics, and adaptive design. So first, tangible surfaces. So again, here the idea is sort of about creating this idea of how physical objects would react in the physical world and trying to express it in a computer interface. So you can have areas of light and shadow. You can also use the layout to separate the content from the navigation. And interactions should be given cues. So if you have a user interface, you can use visual cues to let the user know how the app will respond in response to their touch. Second, we have the bold and beautiful aesthetics. So this can be use of beautiful typography, whatever typography fits your brand, bold use of color, and we also put a lot of emphasis on content and material design. Here you can see an example of the Play Music app. We're using the album art across the top, and we're taking that bright pink color that comes right from the content and using that to bring a bright highlight to the different buttons on the screen. We also like to use geometric icons that help give a consistent look and feel between different apps on the user's device. Next up is my favorite, which is meaningful and delightful motion. Here the idea is that you want the app to really feel like it's responding to the user's touch. So you don't want to distract the user by having too much motion, but you do use this as a great way to make your apps feel much more fun and much more interactive. Finally, we have adaptive design. The main principle that we want to have here is if a user accesses your app on their Android device, on another mobile platform, or on the web, even if they've never used that platform before, they should have an intuitive sense of how it will work if they've used your app somewhere else. So when they move from screen to screen, they'll be able to see some consistent elements, and you'll want to think about exactly which elements to show on each screen. But again, the idea is that they have a consistent underlying principle that the user can learn to understand. So now what we're going to do is talk about different device types and how you can specifically tune your apps to work great across these different devices. And the first one we're going to talk about is tablets. We've seen that most apps, especially in the global market, are already designed for tablets, and this is great to see. They make sure that users have a great experience and really take advantage of the larger screen size that they have on tablets. When you upload your app to the Google Play Developer Console, we actually scan it automatically to make sure that it meets some basic requirements to ensure that users will have a good experience on tablets. You can upload screenshots of how your app will look on 7-inch and 10-inch devices. And if you want to make sure that your app has maximum visibility and discoverability on the Play Store on tablets, you need to make sure that you do meet the Design for Tablets guidelines. And if you go to developer.android.com, that's a website you're going to hear about a lot today. We have specific guidelines to help you understand what makes a great tablet app. Next up, we have Android Wear. This is getting a lot of interest in terms of smartwatch usage. And you actually have 3 different ways of how you can implement an Android Wear app. We're going to talk about each of your different options one by one. So the most basic version is if your app is using our standard notifications platform, notifications are just going to work. But you will want to make sure you try it, so you may want to try getting an Android Wear device and make sure that the notifications are showing up the way you want them to. Secondly, if you're just getting started with Android Wear and you want to do something that's going to be easy and quick, with as little as about 10 lines of code, you can create enhanced notifications. And this can help you reformat your notifications using things like pages or stacking, and you can even integrate voice replies. We've seen a lot of interest in Android Wear, and users are really excited about things, especially like messaging apps, for example, where it can be pretty easy to show the new message notification on the watch, and then the user can respond directly from their watch using the voice reply. Now, if you want to build a full-blown Android Wear app, that's fantastic. So I wanted to share a couple of tips with you that we've seen from some of our partners who have gotten started early with Android Wear. So those of you who have built software before may notice that the graph on the left seems like sort of what you hope at the beginning of the project. You think, I'll just need a small amount of time from design, I'll spend most of my time building the app, and maybe I'll need a little bit of time at the end for debugging. But what actually ends up happening is you need more design time than you expected. You still have to build the app, but then at the end, you need a lot more debugging than you had expected. Now, one thing that's really important when you think about an Android Wear app is that this type of interaction is just so different from mobile apps or web pages that you've done in the past. So to make the best experience, you need to make sure that you have some UX iteration time. So the idea here is that you build an early prototype of your app, you get an Android Wear device, and you try it out at home or at the office, and then you say, well, that doesn't quite work right, and so you tweak the interaction. If you do this, you're going to have a great result and be very happy with it, but it does take a little bit extra work at the beginning. Next up, we have Android TV. This is a great way to get in users' living rooms. We have the Nexus Player device that's already launched, and there's going to be a lot more interest in devices coming up in the future. So there are 3 principles here that you want to keep in mind when you're building for a TV. So again, the idea here is that the TV in your living room is not like a phone or a desktop computer. The user just wants to get in very quickly and get into their content. So you don't want to put a lot of interface between the user and the television program or the game that they want to use. Also, you need to have a much simpler interaction. The user is going to be using a remote control or a game controller rather than a touch screen, so you'll need to do some special testing to make sure that the user can access all of the different elements in the UI. Also, you want the experience to be very cinematic. So the idea is the user wants to sit back on their sofa and watch the TV. They don't want to be doing a lot of interaction. So we provide the lean back theme to give a consistent style to your Android TV apps, and we definitely recommend that you use them. Once you've created a great Android TV app, you can submit it to the Google Play Developer Console, and we'll check it out to make sure that it will provide that great experience. Okay, so we talked about how to design your apps with quality in mind, and next we're going to talk about how to bring quality to the development process. So Lollipop came out earlier this year, and we're really excited about it because it has the largest number of new APIs compared to any other Android release that we've had in the past. This is really exciting. So I'll tell you about a couple of the main things that come up in Android L. First of all, we have material design, which we've already discussed. Second, we've made a lot of changes to the notifications platform. We've also made a lot of performance optimizations, especially around battery, Bluetooth, and network efficiency, so that if a user's connection is flaky or keeps getting dropped, the device will be more responsive. So let's talk a little bit more about notifications in L. These are some things that we want to make sure that you're aware of and you check your applications for. First of all, you'll notice immediately that the background of notifications has changed. It used to be that the background color was black. Now the background color is white. You also get to have a customized accent color. So here in this example, this alarm clock notification has a blue circle, and you can customize the color there to suit your brand and whatever works for you. Second, you want to add a notifications flag to the manifest, because in Android L, users can go in to the settings panel and be able to manage notifications for each of your apps, and you'll want your app to be there. Finally, we have a new feature in Android L where notifications can be shown on the lock screen. This is a great way to engage users. But one thing to be aware of is you want to make sure that you're presenting the right information to a user. You wouldn't necessarily want to show private information on the lock screen. So we have special visibility settings so that you can set the private, the public, and the secret views for your notifications. This will make sure the user gets the right information when they expect it. Next up, one of the things that's so exciting about working on Android is we really have the potential to connect everybody in the world online using mobile phone technology, and this is super exciting for us. But here's a couple tips that developers need to keep in mind if they want to have a high-quality app that gives a quality experience in these emerging markets. The first thing is that data plans are typically very expensive and hard for people to afford in emerging markets. So in order to help people out, you want to make sure that you keep the size of your APK as small as possible. And secondly, don't think about 3G access or LTE access. Think about your user having only 2G access and probably not Wi-Fi access at all. You want to make sure that you do a good amount of testing to make sure that your app will be very responsive and give the user a clear experience, even if the network disconnects frequently or has very slow access. Finally, another area that's important to test is memory usage. Typically, these devices in emerging markets have a lower memory than we're used to, so you'll want to make sure that you use different memory testing tools to make sure that the app is still going to work great. Android Studio Beta is something that is providing a lot of these tools to do testing. For example, it provides this memory monitor tool that can be really helpful for that memory testing that we just talked about. It's also really helpful in terms of creating new device type apps, so apps for Android Wear or Android TV. It also helps add a lot of the Google services that users in the global market expect. And it provides a lot of tools to look at performance issues, usability issues, version compatibility, and typical problems that developers could run into. So you want to make sure that you do all this testing earlier before you've launched your app. For many of us, when we're launching a new game or application, We have a really great idea, but we don't have a big budget to be able to build a serious backend. And that's where the Google Cloud Platform comes in. So it helps you launch quickly. And then if your app or game starts to take off and gain a lot of traction, it's easier to get more quota and be able to keep scaling your game without doing a lot of work. It offers this great fast performance that is typical of Google networks. And it also offers global access. So this is a great thing if you're having an application available on the global market to make sure that users can access this backend service near where they are. And to help you get started, we're offering something called the Mobile Starter Kit. So this is a special offering from Google to make the Google Cloud Platform easier to afford and easier to set up. So Google Play Services is something that's really exciting. This is a way to give access to all the Google services on the user's device. So this is automatically kept up to date with Google. You don't have to put any SDK into your app itself. And we've launched several new features in it this year. For example, activity recognition is a special API that allows you to see if users are running, walking, or doing other activities. And then there's also Cloud Save, which is a great feature, especially if you're building a game and you want to sync the user state to the cloud. It even works and synchronizes well, even if the user goes offline or online. Okay, so we talked about design and development. And now we're going to talk about all the different tools that Google Play can use to help you improve your app's quality as you distribute it globally. So we mentioned earlier that the Google Play Store has been updated to take advantage of the new material design look. So if you're a developer, there's a couple of key things that you need to know about to make sure that this page is going to look really great for you. One of them is that you need to make sure that you've uploaded a large banner graphic, which will be shown at the top of the screen. You can see here it's the one with the dark blue background, and this is a new graphic that not everyone will have uploaded before. Secondly, we also have a short text summary at the bottom of each page. So you'll need to make sure that you've entered that text description as well, and this gives the user a quick summary to understand what the app does. Okay. Hello. Are we stuck? There we go. Great. So user ratings are something that's really important on Google Play. Users frequently use ratings when they're comparing multiple apps and trying to decide which one to install. And so one thing our most successful developers tell us is that they want to understand how they can improve their reviews. And they put a lot of time into reading those reviews, understanding the complaints that users have, reading user requests for new features, and then a special feature that we have on Google Play is that you can actually post replies to your user reviews. So if a user says, hey, I have this bug, the app crashes for me, maybe it would be nice if you say, thanks, we'll look into the problem, and then after you fixed it, you can reply again to the user and say, hey, we've actually fixed that bug, please check it and let us know if it's working for you. And developers have seen great response from users. Users are usually very happy to have this excellent customer service, and because your replies are posted publicly, if you respond to a review, other users going to the store and looking at your app will say, wow, this company is very responsive. Okay. So one of the most powerful tools that we have on Google Play is this idea of beta testing and staged rollouts. So we've seen over 80,000 apps use beta testing and staged rollouts to increase quality. And we're seeing more and more every day. In fact, the majority of our top apps on the store use beta testing and staged rollouts to increase quality. And we see that the average rating for apps who have done beta testing is much higher than the average. So let's talk about what each of these different concepts mean. So the whole idea behind beta testing is that you can do a private test of your app. So the idea is here, you can create a Google group or a Google Plus community, and users can opt in to view the beta software. You also get two different versions that you can test simultaneously. We call one alpha, and one of them is beta. And to prevent any leaking of features or people sharing bugs or things like that, we actually make it so that those users in the alpha and the beta cannot actually leave reviews. So this means if you're testing some early software with a small group of beta testers, this won't have any negative impact on your reviews. And later, you're actually able to compare the statistics. So for example, you can see how different metrics like crashes vary between your alpha and beta versions. Now, once you've tested it with a small group and you're ready to roll out to a larger population, you can use staged rollouts. So the idea here is that when you release an update to your app, you should be pretty sure that it's going to work great, but occasionally we all have that worry that what if there's a bug? So staged rollouts lets you put the new version out to a small group of users. And so if you do find that there is an issue early on, like let's say a user start leaving bad reviews saying that they don't like the new version, or you notice a high rate of crashing, you can just stop the rollout right there, fix the bug, and then move on. So it keeps bugs from impacting your whole user base. One common thing that developers ask me a lot is, tell me what I should do on my app next. And so to try to make this advice as scalable as possible, we have a new area that we call optimization tips and alerts. So what you decide to work on next can be influenced by this. So if we notice any opportunities for your app to improve, we'll give you an optimization tip. So an example of this might be maybe you have an app with a lot of installs in, let's say, Russia, but your app is not translated into Russian. We'll actually let you know, and then it's easy to purchase a translation into that new language. And this can be a great way to make sure that you haven't missed any opportunities. Similarly, if we notice a problem with your application, we'll also let you know. So let's say that you publish a new version of your app, and we notice that your user reviews are much lower than your older versions. So we'll actually give you an alert and say, you should check this, maybe there's a problem. You can also sign up to receive emails so that you find out about these alerts faster. So once you understand how your app is doing overall, you want to understand what users are doing inside your app, and the easiest way to do that is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is also very helpful because it works cross-platform. You may have an Android app, but maybe also apps on other platforms and maybe a website as well. And Google Analytics lets you measure users across all of these platforms. So with just 3 easy lines of code, you can add Google Analytics to your app, and from there you can get a lot of detailed information. So one example of what you can do once you've integrated Google Analytics is Google Tag Manager. So once you understand what users do inside your app, you probably want to make little tweaks to it. And so Google Tag Manager actually lets you run experiments. So for example, I could have 2 versions of my app. Maybe in one case, the character in the game is a dog, and in another case, maybe the character in the game is a cat. And I could do a test to see whether users like cats or dogs better. And then if I say I want to maximize a certain metric, like let's say revenue or time spent in the game, then the metric I choose will be used to determine whether the cat or the dog character is the winner, and over time it will switch more and more people over to the version that gives the result that I prefer. A common question that users ask a lot is, I would like to know how people find my application. And one of the best ways to do this is the Google Play Referral Flow Report. And this is a unique feature that you can get if you're using Google Analytics in your app. This allows you to track the effectiveness of each campaign that you run on Google Play. So for every single campaign that you have, you can see how many users view your app in the Play Store, how many install your app, and how many launch your app. And this allows you to track that conversion funnel and understand which campaigns perform best so that you can optimize your marketing budget and invest more in the campaigns that work well. Okay. So another sophisticated thing that Google Analytics can do for you is allow you to define the segments of your users that are most valuable and then track them over time and compare them to the average user. So for example, I can say that I'm very interested in users who have gotten to level 7 in my game, have spent more than $5, and installed my application in December. And I can track that group of users over time and see how they respond to different changes in the app, or to see how many of them stay engaged in the long term. We've seen a lot of developers on Google Play be able to grow their revenue into significant businesses, and so we've given much more advanced reporting around revenue. So in addition to showing you total revenue, we also show the average revenue per paying user, the number of buyers, and also allow you to see breakdowns by country of how much different revenue you're making in each market. And this can be really helpful as you're distributing your apps and games globally, and you want to understand the financial performance of each market. One common request that we had from developers, especially those who have a large number of apps or a large number of languages, is that updating their apps was getting pretty time consuming. So if you're spending a lot of time doing updates, especially if you have a lot of apps or a lot of translations into different languages, the developer publishing API may be helpful for you. So it's able to upload your APKs, you can manage alpha and beta testing, you can upload your localized graphics and text, and it can be very helpful to make sure that you don't make any mistakes in the publishing process and that you can spend more time building great apps and games rather than uploading them. Okay, so today we talked about how to incorporate quality at every stage of making a great app or game. So in the design process, the development process, and the distribution process. As you all learn much more about Google Play, I definitely encourage you to check out the different tools that we have available. Think about including material design in your app and listening to your user feedback. Thank you.